to worry about it. You still have some time.
Did you sign in? I mean, we know who you are, but is it a new sheet?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's my old one. That's all your paperwork. You got any from?
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
do we have a sign-in
I
sheet?
can
for-
do one.
Yeah, just for.
Not getting in on me, Bill.
Yeah, you
Okay.
got one of those. Joan had it. I think I might have
Give one
had
of these
two
guys?
anyways. They gave you two.
Yep.
Sure.
There you go.
Back at work.
Oh, yeah. Stayed home with my dog today.
Got a problem?
She got spayed on Wednesday
Mm.
for a couple of kids.
I know.
I'm gonna have you look at the picture.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
They told me she was already dead.
I show you.
As long as it's only the skin
Probably
stitches.
wouldn't be good.
It is only this.
Yeah, then there's not much to do.
They said they can put some staples in it.
Yeah, but once it's been open for even just a few hours, you're almost farther ahead to keep it open.
Why would that be?
Because if you close it up, you can seal in infection.
Okay, but I mean, there's no antiseptic or. you know,
Well, you could put
alcohol.
something topical on there, but the dog's just gonna lick it off in the next 5 minutes.
I got a t-shirt on it, and this bandage around.
Okay. That's the picture you should have brought.
Yeah,
Well, I got
With
that
the t-shirt?
The dog in the t-shirt.
The problem is, I think he was taking a leak of
There you go.
Oh, there she is. Oh, my goodness. How embarrassing.
With the
Like
going around her
degrees
neck
out.
and wearing a t-shirt.
A cone of shame.
Yeah, she was not happy.
I didn't get it in where he survived. I didn't think we were gonna. Been helping me and drink.
Can I have a timekeeper for the public comment session? Are you up for that? 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. I know. I'll give you a badge
Hey,
and a
Mike.
whistle.
I couldn't open the digester.
So it was good
I
advice.
could open it, but it only had like every other page. That just didn't come
Thank you.
through.
Now you gotta remember, I hadn't spayed a dog
the digest.
since
Yeah, the digest.
1989.
I trust you.
But I did a lot
I don't know.
between 81 and 89.
That's good. That come from,
There's a PDF. I opened it, wouldn't open. I mean, it would open, but it didn't,
yeah, that come from Eric.
parts of it were blank.
Hundreds.
That come from the attorney.
That sure sounds like the vets are busy.
I wicked.
Incredible.
There's not enough.
No, I like the fact there's
And then
advice
what we
to
need,
get an
so
animal.
we got-
Me, man.
Okay, and then-
When I was
I
working,
didn't
one's
page on
that?
I had
No,
unlisted
what's-
phone numbers.
it. Everything in here, and that's all that we're.
Yeah,
My
well,
mom,
You
my
know.
mom wasn't
Well,
expecting
I
it.
didn't-
We got calls.
because I didn't.
Kind of camp
And
and
if,
play.
and if new people called me up, I couldn't work for them because there was only one of me.
When my mom wouldn't answer the phone,
Is,
people would show up at the house.
Probably spell check.
Yeah. Well, for me. Involving cows,
They couldn't really show.
they couldn't really show up. Having said that, I've IV'd cats on my front
I
porch.
was gonna say, people I bet show up with a lamb or a calf.
Yeah, yeah, and they did. It was
We
expired.
show up at my friends with all of
We're
those.
good.
Are you ready,
I got
Denny?
a 2 feet of calf as an emergency situation when that doesn't come out. I said, Google, YouTube.
I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We've got an attendance sheet that's getting passed around for everybody to sign. Do we need to adopt any changes to the agenda? If not, we'll continue. Then the next thing is public comments. A couple of ground rules for the public comments. Because of time, we'd like to keep the comments limited to what we're discussing tonight, the multiple issues. And just like the town board meetings, People have 3 minutes to express their opinions. The subjects that we're dealing with tonight are the former Fraser Motor Site on Route 11, 6182, and 2 solar projects, one on the former Dennis Lumley Farm at 295 State Highway 310, and a new proposed project across the road at 268 State Highway 310 on the Hayes Farm. Are there anybody want to speak from the public?
We have an adjustment since that restricting to just things on the agenda is not what the town board is about, but I can understand what you're saying. At the end of the meeting, can we have a public comment open to anything?
If the board wants to agree to that. I mean,
We're going against,
before
we're
9.
going against the flavor of the town board by restricting public comment to what's on the agenda. Because they don't do that. And we adopted.
people could talk about anything.
That's right. But we adopted a resolution to exactly do that, talk about anything.
Was that the language?
Yep, ask Bill.
Here?
So for a compromise tonight, can we do it at the end of the meeting?
Okay,
I'm all right with the end of the meeting.
Well,
For the
and-
3-minute time limit.
at the, one other thing, our agenda doesn't have public comment at the end of the meeting.
Right,
Um,
but it should be there.
it should have been there before the adjournment. Does everybody agree to that?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye, okay. So do we have any public comments at this time relative to our applicable projects?
You got one?
I do have a question. Tony, the developer for the solar project on Route 310.
Yep.
Forwarded me a map of the proposed changes,
Yep.
but I was not able to see those in clarity. Is that something that we can see as the public before we make
This one?
comments or before you
Yeah.
make any action on that project?
This is one, right? Northwest Solar, right?
Yeah, the map's right there. You put in the words that on your email?
No, who wouldn't let
Like I
us
said, I'm
know
not sure
that?
which page it's on there. It's gotta be one of the first couple.
Cause I was able to blow it right up,
Yeah,
and I'm not very handy.
I flipped a couple pages there, Joel. It might be on the one today.
Yeah, I think this one looks a little more.
Do you print that or do we have a copy of that?
That's the only copy that
Okay.
Mike printed, cause
I did look online,
we've
but it
all
was hard.
seen it.
You've seen the new entrance
Yeah, it went out on
on
an
the
email.
email. I
yeah.
did look at it for the same thing. It's really hard to see.
Do you wanna make comments, Joel?
Yes, please. So the first comment that I would like to make is my concern over safety on Route 310 with an entrance this close to the intersection of State Street Road. If you've ever tried to get out on that intersection during I call it rush hour. It can be pretty dangerous and, you know, I know firsthand, I've almost been rear-ended at my farm stand and my cider house. I would like the board to consider other safety measures if this is going to be approved, whether it be a double passing or a solid line on Route 310, so people can't pass in that section. It's literally a speedway through there. It's 55 miles an hour, and I guess I just don't understand why the entrance had to be moved from a really good location off of State Street Road in the first place.
Because the town highway superintendent interject the same reason you just did, safety concerns.
Okay.
And he
Well,
wouldn't-
I'm gonna
he
stress
wouldn't-
safety concerns for this location.
He wouldn't budge.
You know, and secondly, for the aesthetics of the town of Canton, the pole locations, from what I understand, there could be 10 to 12 poles with structures at the top of them. tucked into the corner next to Maplewood buildings was gonna be a really good camouflage for these structures. Now they're gonna be smack dab in the middle of the field. And it's gonna be hideous. And I think for the aesthetics of Canton, I do think we need to reconsider, trying to get them pushed off to the other side. But number one is safety. It's, State Highway 310 is 55 miles an hour plus, as my neighbors can attest to that. You try to back a trailer off of that road and you get rear-ended, you get pushed off the road, you get honked at. You get your mailboxes wiped out by people all the time. I really do think this is a safety concern. I think the board should really consider that. And I realize that New York State DOT has approved this
They did.
entrance, but I also want to remind the board that St. Lawrence County Planning Board turned this project down and you guys overrode them. So why can't you override the DOT on this? So, and if anybody else has anything else to say or add, I really do think it's a safety problem. School buses, the town of Canton has proposed a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit out to the intersection. So somebody thinks there's a safety issue here. And I really do think this is gonna add to the safety problem in that area.
Thank you.
I have a comment on the same, on the
Okay.
solar. I'm just wondering when the planning board reviews what the county, their decision, when does the planning board sit down and review that as a board?
We did that way back when we were, doing all the secret process on this parcel.
But they just had, at the last planning board meeting, they denied the project. So
Not this project.
Mhm.
This one they denied last summer.
different project. Oh, different project.
Yeah.
This is the one next to United Helpers.
Okay,
The other project is across the road.
so when will that be reviewed by the planning board as a board?
We're in the early stages of that at this point. Tonight, we're dealing with the secret part one
Of that project?
of that project.
Thank you.
It's called Grassy Grove. It's on Old Hayes.
Any other comments?
I just have a comment coming off State Street, like when all the politicians put their signs there, when I called and reported because people couldn't see, and they're pulling out and you hear brakes after brakes, people pulling off State Street and coming around to 10, like, you know, it's a dangerous corner.
So with any safety project, it usually, you see the problem, but you always have to have a few accidents before people get aware that it's a safety project. So with that kind of thinking, that means that the entrance approved by the DOT will say, oh, well, we say okay to that, then we say okay, and Joel's looking out his window one day and here comes the accident. And maybe the next couple of weeks, another accident happens. Then what happens?
Mike, was Bill gonna be available tonight?
You said he was going to, but I sent him the link and everything. I know through the negotiations with, well, not with me, but Mr. Buchanan and their attorney. Stoll America offered to appease the safety issue with highway superintendent, offered to hire an off-duty police officer to police the traffic during construction. But that's gonna be your main,
Yeah,
because once it's built, pickup truck and maybe 3 times a year. Maybe 4, that didn't go anywhere.
That was for 310, wasn't it?
No, that was for State Street.
I mean, State Street, it was on State Street.
So I don't know if that's something, I mean, I thought it was a good idea, if that was. But I mean, if it's something that they would still offer for the entrance to go off 310 during construction, that might be feasible. But I know the DOT won't change any lines or anything without. What is it, you have to go, the town has to do something, then they send it to the county, and then the county has to send it to the DOT, then the DOT has to do their study, and yeah, it's a long, just like a speed limit thing.
Is it our call to make?
The DOT. You'd have to talk to one of the engineers in Watertown. They did approve it.
Yeah.
That's what they do, that's their. But, I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll move on for the moment. Our next thing on the agenda was presentation about the project at Fraser Motors.
How are you?
I'm good.
But I'm Les Baker.
We'll
gonna be
introduce
the builder.
We'll
He's gonna be
introduce
the
the board.
owner.
We'll introduce the board here
Thank
quick. I'm Ian McKellar, the chair.
Okay.
I happen to live next door.
Okay, okay, haven't met you.
And
I'm Bill Myers, a member of the planning board.
Eric Barr, member of the planning board.
And Siggy Bar, I'm an alternate.
Betsy Hatch, I'm a member.
John Casterly, member.
fire away.
I'm here for comments. I'm not sure what you,
They all have the
Walk from
plans
me.
in front of you.
what's that?
They all have the site plans in front of them.
Yeah. Do you have what we proposed to do there?
We have this.
Okay,
We didn't know if you had any kind of presentation to make.
so we did an asbestos survey of the old structure that sits there, the old Fraser Motor Building. As you see on the print there, we're gonna have that tore down. And then extend that parking lot over to square it up. Nothing would change with the front entrance. Nothing would change with the signage. Lighting would change to a dimmer source of lighting. With a building in the back of 40 by 70. Clear open basement for that as well. With an open back to it for vendors. Been very nice for Canton. No, I'm not sure that I'm the only one that says that here, but I think that Canton needs something of that structure.
How safe do you think the exit and the entrance are right in front of the restaurant?
There was a car dealership there for the
Yeah.
last 8 years.
It's right at the top of that hill.
Correct. There's better visibility there than there is down to Fraser Computing,
Right.
that the hospital comes out of.
Mhm.
160 employees will be there by November 1st, coming in and out of there daily.
At Fraser.
It
But
varies.
not the actual.
Yeah.
Fraser
Right,
Computing.
Yes, right.
So. The visibility on the bottom of that hill is a lot worse than the top of that hill. Coming out
I know
from
that.
that double entrance.
Right.
So I don't have any say with that, as you say, whether it's. I think it's double lane there, 30 some feet wide.
So when you're at the top, at the entrance here, looking back towards the village, how far can you see? I can't remember. I've never stood right there, looking back towards.
See
the
down
entrance.
past the new hospital.
No, no, no,
entrance.
no,
Back
if
towards the
you're
village.
looking, if you're looking towards Canton, towards the
Correct,
village,
Back towards the hospital. There's
No, back
hospital
towards the village.
back towards the
other way.
village.
Yeah, but
That is
That
the
is
hospital.
there. That's what he's saying.
Okay,
back towards the
so
village.
you can see the
Towards
hospital
EJ
entrance,
Noble.
See that hospital
Okay.
entrance, yeah.
and can you see the bridge? Railroad bridge?
You know, I don't know that.
Okay, that's all right.
no,
That's,
you can't
Don't know
because
that.
the road curves.
okay.
I can do this presentation.
Okay,
Was
I think
anybody,
you can just about see Route 11 trucking there, but then
Yeah.
it turns and goes around that underpass of that bridge, so.
so you don't perceive it being a problem there?
I personally don't.
Is the DOT gonna have to, approve this exit?
I don't know yet.
It's been a commercial exit, so.
Right,
I highly doubt that.
The area is all zoned commercial.
This a two-story building?
All one,
One story.
yeah.
How many parking spots?
70. It will be. But will not be needed for 7. Capacity of the building's 106. With the eatery and the lounge.
Lounge, what type of restaurant is it?
Would be a bar restaurant. Yeah,
no parking on Route
family
11,
style.
right? No-
What's that?
No parking on Route 11.
No, absolutely not, no. No, I think there's very sufficient parking in there. Especially when the house moves and that comes over for another 13 spaces. We'd be cutting out that blacktop there and excavation in there and then re-blacktop it to make that whole parking lot squared.
Any other questions? And you and Michael are working with Mike in terms of, further plans or?
I'm working directly with the architect. I'm here on behalf of myself mostly and Mr. Frazier.
Mike, do we need anything else?
No.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing I would suggest, I mean, I'm not the owner, but I would employ parking out back.
That's actually gonna get extended, but it's gonna be down back.
That's what I'm saying, behind the building.
Yeah, down back behind the building.
So you don't take your parking spot.
Correct, correct. There would be nothing up above. I mean, there is a side road there that we will leave. But it more than likely, I would be blocking that off. Like, I don't want nobody using that. That
What
break,
about the,
that breakaway that goes down.
I'm more familiar with this 3-story building than
Mhm.
the
So the
office.
the 3-story does come around there, but. Hospital people.
What about the garage? What about the garage below? Is that gonna be affected with entrance and?
I don't believe so. He wants to widen the entrance there a little. And they're gonna run that garage.
Yeah, that's the way Mike's
And
talk, but I just,
there's. I don't believe there's gonna be any more vehicles in and out of there than there has been over the last 5 years. Other than you're gonna see a truck, delivery trucks. You are gonna see that.
And you're gonna have, vehicles from the restaurant employees if they're parking down back?
Down in the back, yes, away, they would not be seen from Route 11.
No, but they'll be
No.
having to use the farm access road.
They would either use that access road or they would use that loop around that I personally wanna block off, but I don't have to block that off. If somebody has a stipulation to that, we could use that,
Is that paved?
yes,
The,
straight down. Yeah, and we plan to pave down back as well,
down by the shop?
down by the shop and then back over to Fraser Motor, or Fraser Computing.
Okay.
Yeah,
The shop, is this a business?
yes,
Separate
but I'm
from
not
Fraser?
any part of that,
I mean, is it gonna have people come in, customers come in and out?
I believe so.
And they'll come in from the Fraser Motor exit and entrance?
I think they will come in from the dirt road that's there.
The dirt road that's right here?
Correct.
A lot of exits and entrances onto the heavy duty Route
It's
11.
also used by, big time farm equipment. That's the access to the 100 acres that are out
Right, back
on the other side of the tracks behind me. I don't know how they're, do you know what goes down that road?
They use that, I've
This is a
seen
tr- this
manure
is-
trucks there
Yeah, okay,
and,
Just
you know,
checking
spreading in the spring.
okay, just
And then
checking to
I've
see if
seen,
you knew that,
Silage trucks coming up through that, yes, I've
Okay.
seen that, yes.
okay? Do you know what condition they leave that road?
I
It's not
don't, but
pretty.
if there's anything that we can do with that road, and that includes blacktop if it's needed, we will do that. If somebody
Those
has a
trucks will wreck your
stipulation for that,
blacktop.
Yeah, they'll wreck their blacktop.
well, you
Right.
put a thick binder in. Unless they're real heavy.
They're heavy, 10,000 gallon tank trucks,
Yeah,
just the contents is 80,000 pounds or more, plus the weight of the truck.
106, yeah.
Compacted pressure run or something there.
So would we be remiss in our responsibilities to look at all these exits and entrances right on Route 11 here? A busy road that has a lot of more and more usage, heavy duty traffic and,
They're there now.
yep.
These are all existing.
Existing.
I don't, I know, but Fraser Motors, I don't think I've ever seen anybody exit or entrance from that, where the used car lots were. I don't think I've ever seen anybody come out of there or into it. So as opposed to when the restaurant's going, with,
Yeah, there's-
70, 80 people, that's gonna be quite a difference,
There's gonna be a big time
big difference.
jump
Than
in
just
traffic.
just a used car. Yeah. So I don't know, am I being out of line here by seeing that, you know, just this, so there's a lot of traffic. I don't know what to do about it, I'm just saying there's a lot of traffic, and Joel says we got a problem on 310, you could say there's a problem here,
Yeah, 310's nothing compared to this.
right?
As in the perspective of,
Exits and entrances.
And traffic volume and
so
speed.
there's been traffic there for however long here.
The speed's about the same.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
not
sure
at,
what the,
not at the level of the
Very
rest
good.
of
You
it.
got motorcycles going by 80, 90 miles an hour.
well, maybe not at the level of the restaurant, but depends on what time of day. 300 feet away, there's an exit that's, and an in-road and an exit that goes into Fraser Computing that
That's right,
is no huge bearing compared to that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
there's other entrances that are heavily used too, like U-Haul, and the hospital.
It's a busy place. Now it's gonna get busier.
Probably had a.
It's gonna get busier.
How'd you improve the hospital entrance?
That was a
That's
while ago.
village.
The DOT said, okay,
I,
basically.
I wasn't
Sure.
involved.
Now, That's a whole nother planning board.
And if they said not, could you guys have overrode?
No.
Not the DOT.
But that was a brand new build where there was no commercial there. Okay.
That
So
was,
in this situation, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, because you have an existing. The only thing that I would say. If you're going to build and use that entrance and everything would be, as you can notice. Going up Route 11 on like new businesses. They have a sign that says enter, they have a sign that says exit,
Which we have. There's no problem with that at all.
cause that's a requirement the DOT uses.
The last thing I wanna do is block anything by putting things.
I mean, I
out
get
there.
John's thing between a restaurant and car dealership, more traffic. But yeah, the office building, even before the hospital took it over with however many employees Mr. Brazier had, vehicles in and out of that daily. You know,
Yeah. That and the house is gonna come down,
Yeah.
so that house. When you see that gone, you should be able to clearly look. That way, and there should be no questions. It's like looking right out to that building right there. It should be very clear.
And that's gonna be the exit and the entrance, that one.
Exit and entrance, yeah, that's over 30 feet wide there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions for him? I guess we can move on then. Thank you.
County year the 14th.
And I take it we don't have any previous meeting minutes to approve?
No, not yet. I will get those.
For
For
310.
The next on our list is old business is
Right there.
Okay.
Yeah, and
thank you, folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, here's State Street and the State Street. Here's the yeah.
Then the next item is a resolution concerning alternative entrance to St. Lawrence County, New York, S2 LLC solar project, which is Soul America LLC, located at 295 State Highway 310 in Canton. Does anybody have questions about that at this point?
So the new
Discussion.
poles, as Joel said, are gonna run right in the new entrance.
Yeah, if you enlarge that picture, you can see where they are.
Hmm.
There.
As I remember, our original conversation regarding the State Street entrance was more of a suggestion than a safety.
Yeah,
concern.
because the traffic isn't going as fast.
Right. And I mean, everybody knows those hours in the morning and the afternoon
Yeah.
being, you know, with the bus traffic.
The people traffic.
But the town of Canton Highway Department said no way, period.
So they're
So what happens if we say no way, period, on 310?
right here.
On the edge.
Yeah.
They're ugly.
Well, they are,
They're
yeah,
uglier
especially
than the
when, I
rest of
mean,
it.
you see the screening here, but what's further up? Nothing? I mean, aesthetics has always been an issue with this site.
Well, there was already screening along this part of the
Deciduous or conifer?
conifer.
Right.
And there's, we approved this,
Right,
The
not
old-
the entrance,
the,
but
But two things have changed.
two
the
things,
entrance
it's not,
and the
and the
pole.
poles. So it's not just the entrance.
They're
Yeah.
ugly.
You may want to ask Joe Hens if he has any comment about that.
Oh,
That's
Joe's on
up to
there.
you,
Okay, yeah.
but yes.
okay. Joe, do you have any comments about these changes?
I mean, the poles need to be along the access road. That's a national grid requirement. So the reason the poles are there is so grid has access to them. I'm sure that if there was a concern with screening specifically for the poles, Soul America, in this case, wouldn't have any issue with extending the screening further along the access road. I do see that it stops slightly short to not cover all the poles. So if that's a change you'd like to see, I don't see an issue with that.
What are the height of the poles?
Usually they're about 30 feet.
Right, and then the trees?
Well, it's 8 foot at the time of planting, but the poles are no different than what's currently along the highway.
Ones I've seen have big things on the top of them and they're.
Transformers.
Yeah. They're uglier than the array.
I'll read the resolution. And we can discuss it further. The Town of Canton, New York Planning Board Resolution number 8 of 2023. The resolution approving alternative entrance to St. Lawrence County, New York, S2 LLC Solar Project, Soul America Energy LLC, dated September 5th, 2023. Whereas Soul America Energy LLC, the company, is developing a 5.0 megawatt AC solar energy generating project. Herein the project in the town at the lot commonly referenced as 295 New York State Route 310, Canton, New York, 13617, and identified as SBL number 74.004-7-71. And whereas the company has applied for and received a site plan approval and a special use permit, directing the company to use the existing driveway access point on State Street for access during the construction, operation, and decommissioning of the project. And whereas the company and the town have agreed that an alternate entrance to the site located along New York State Route 310 in the town of Canton, as generally depicted in attachment A, is preferred, and the company desires to amend its site plan and special use permit applications to implement this change to facilitate the issuance of a permit by the New York State Department of Transportation to enter the site from New York State Route 310. Now therefore be it resolved in accordance with the town of Canton zoning law, the planning board hereby grants the amendment to the site plan approval and special use permit requested by Soul America Energy LLC to change the entrance to the project site from State Street to New York State Route 310. Was Bill going to be here for us?
He's not at this time.
Can you remember what Steve used as criteria for denying the entrance on State Street? You remember?
Traffic.
He used traffic on State Street.
Yeah,
Amount of traffic,
And the
amount of traffic.
And the
That's it.
traffic on 310 wasn't an issue.
not for him.
The only thing the only reason this came up was Soul America contacted the highway department for an entrance permit
Off of State Street.
off of State Street because it's a town road.
Mhm.
So that's where the trickle effect. Safety concerns, amount of traffic. We went, Bill and the attorney went 4 or 5 months. Back and forth. And there's no resolution.
What is the anticipated construction time?
Thank you.
6 months.
And so the propose is that they, during that construction time, they have a posted off-duty policeman.
That was one of the
Joe is at-
proposals, that was one of the proposals Tony came up with for the State Street entrance.
for
That
the
he would
State
have
Street entrance. Okay,
to get the project,
right, to get it at least,
right.
right,
But
okay.
we just. That's where it ended.
I don't know, my personal opinion, I mean, 6 months is a long time. We dealt with Main Street for how long? You know,
But it's done in
To have-
phases, it's done in phases.
but I'm still
Yeah.
saying,
Just to chime in, sorry to interrupt. I mean, usually the first couple weeks of these are the most active in terms of like trucks and larger vehicles coming into and out of the site, just for material deliveries. Once all that equipment is on site, a lot of the assembly is just done by contractors that show up in their own personal vehicles. So the traffic's not quite as noticeable for that full 6-month period.
I guess my question to you, Joe, would be, you know, I mean, I'm a teacher, you know, there's 10 weeks in the year, you know, from the end of June through the beginning of September where that bus traffic is gonna be minimal. You know, is there any flexibility in when to start said construction?
I can't speak to the specific construction schedules. I'm not familiar with what their plans are.
It's next year because of this delay and material delay according to Green Spark, the contractor.
I mean, that would be ideal, you know, if most of the traffic is in the beginning phases to have that be in July and August.
I think we also discussed at an earlier meeting about maybe having the construction start times avoid or like the construction delivery times avoid when school buses are coming to the school and leaving the school. And I think that was something that they were willing to accommodate as part of this construction schedule.
If they might be able to avoid rush,
Yeah.
Right,
rush hour.
Yeah, like off-peak hours.
and the willingness for an off-duty, traffic control. I don't see why 310 is a better one personally.
No. Mike, is there any possibility going back to the town or no?
No,
That's completely dead in the water.
dead in the water. Dead in the water.
Even with these concessions from,
Oh, they had all these concessions. This was all in this was in a 2-page letter from their attorney with all concessions and,
So the planning board would have been very happy with an entrance on State Street.
Correct.
Yeah.
Joel Howe would be very happy with an entrance on State Street. The Hazes would be happy with an entrance.
We'd be happy.
The town of Canton would probably be happy.
Not
with
only
State
us.
Street. But now we're gonna vote on something that 1 or 2 people made a decision on, and according to Mike, it's dead in the water. I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but it sounds like he's right on that. And that doesn't make me feel very good.
No. So if we don't approve this new entrance, the whole project goes down.
Aye.
well, no. Then the lawyers get back involved.
Okay.
The lawyers get back involved and have the entrance back on State Street.
Through what we call a lawsuit.
Well, I guess what I'm hearing here, there's a couple different concerns. One is with the poles. So if there was any way to adjust the pole location, I have seen projects that have had a separate turnaround, really just a turnaround where the interconnection was, if the interconnection is at a different location of the main site entrance. So potentially you could have the site entrance or the turnaround for the pole connection and the interconnection at the original location. That wouldn't extend all the way into the site. And then you would still have the main entrance on 310, and that would just be for vehicles going in and out. I've seen that before. I would also like to point out for this new entrance too, there is a benefit that it removes any of the direct wetland impacts that we had as part of the original proposal. So, the new entrance that goes through the site does not have any wetland impacts on that northern side. But those are just my thoughts.
The traffic
Thank
associated
you.
with an operating solar field is not
But that's not the problem.
No,
just during construction. We're
Yes.
only talking about
6 months.
construction.
right.
And I think we approved this project.
approved 310.
We approved
No, we
this
approved-
project
Yes.
with a different entrance.
Right.
That went through a wetland. And now we're looking at the same project with just a different entrance. And the 6 months where there might be higher traffic.
And if they would consider moving the poles back to where they were, or to be less visible, to be less visible.
Then we're gonna need new plans and
Oh,
They
yeah.
would go
it
through
needs
the
the whole-
wetland.
the poles will be going through the
Oh.
wet spot.
That's what they're getting paid for.
Or the other option too is to extend the screening. Obviously at the time of planting, that's not going to do much for you, but down the line, those trees will grow. And they're far enough away from the array that they're not going to cause a shading concern. So they wouldn't need to be trimmed back.
Any further discussion?
We're just yay or nay on what's written here.
Like, is there any chance of getting some signage or something to warn people? He's got 2 businesses down the road and the dentist
Well,
and.
Part of the DOT permit, there's required signage for the construction entrance, just notifying drivers as they're approaching the entrance during construction that could be trucks coming in and out of the site. And that's, both on the northbound and the southbound parts of the state route.
Would a blinking light be, something considered while during construction?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Would a blinking light on Route 310 be something that's, could be considered?
Yeah,
We're
you
not-
could install a sign that notifies drivers of the construction with a blinking light. I don't think that's a problem.
Blinking light on both sides, coming from Canton and going to Canton,
Yes,
both sides of the road.
yep.
I'm personally hung up on the poles.
Oh, okay. I'm hung up on Joel Howe and traffic going 55 plus miles an hour,
But on State Street, that's not an issue.
Not an issue.
not an issue.
But the poles are the poles, regardless of what street they're on too, so.
Right, but as Joel said, the original one was tucked up against Maplewood, which is clearly indicated they don't have an issue with the project.
People make decisions.
Oh, man. Joe, can you talk a little bit more about the poles? Did I miss something here? About moving them instead of, and not moving them from Maplewood?
I mean, the only suggestion I have is if it looks like the polls are gonna be an issue tonight, maybe table the resolution and have the applicant take a second look and see if they can move the polls back to the original location with a turnaround. And keep the interconnection in the same location and keep the main site entrance where it is now. Maybe that's a good compromise.
In that compromise, then the blinking lights on 310.
Yes.
Two parts of this compromise.
Yes, I mean, obviously that would still need to go back to the town highway super. I don't know if that was something that this was discussed with them. When we had all the discussions on the original, approved entrance location. Would they be okay with having really two entrances, one just for the pole location, so the poles can stay in the same spot as the approval. And, the second entrance, which is the new entrance, the main entrance for the site off the state route. But again, that's something that the applicant's gonna need to look at and see if they can do. My suggestion is if it looks like there's going to be not enough agreement on the resolution tonight, it gets tabled and, the project gets sent back to the applicant where they can work through some of these issues that have been raised tonight.
Mike, what do you think the town's opinion would be of a turnaround and poles? Yeah, I mean, I
They're not
don't
gonna
think
like
it's.
that either, are they?
No, because they're
I don't
gonna
think
wind up
so.
having to have trucks delivering the poles and the other equipment
Setting
that's
the poles
there.
and working on the
It's
poles
not,
and-
not gonna be any different.
Yeah, but it's only gonna be for a real
And it's a
short amount
discrete
of time, won't it?
Well,
period
that's
of
what we're
time.
talking about with.
It's not gonna
with the
be the
traffic
6 months.
associated
We
with
actually-
310.
One of the suggestions was the construction entrance be off 310. And everything, but then once the project is completed, the entrance off State Street.
Really?
Yeah, that,
But we're mostly concerned about the 6 month construction period when the traffic is heavy, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. so-
And they're bringing the poles in and trucks and working on the poles, that's not gonna be a lot, is it?
no,
Michael?
but
That's not gonna be. a
No, they
lot.
put, I mean, you can see when the utility company puts poles up along the side of the road now, I mean, it's
Boom, boom.
pretty quick.
Not 6 months.
I mean, well, it's gonna take 3 months for NIMO to get there to hook them up. Or 4.
at
So
least,
You're gonna look at poles just sitting there for 4 or 5 months. Until NIMO gets there to,
But they're not obstructing traffic or doing anything, they're not hurting anybody.
my opinion is to send it back to the town highway department and tell them this is what we want.
I'm okay with that.
fine.
I'll make that motion.
You look at all the heavy
I
traffic.
mean, Isn't
that
that
schools had
just
on
a
State
no
Street.
vote on this resolution? Doesn't that kick it back to the
That-
town?
That kicks it back. so we can have a vote on this.
I'm ready.
So, no motion then?
Are we tabling it?
Trying to
we
make sure I
tabling it?
understand.
We're gonna send it back to the town.
Well,
highway.
a no vote sends it back to the town, table it, just pushes it down.
Yeah.
You know, send it, well, I mean, I guess the conversations could be had.
A no vote sends it back to the town to,
Send it back to Bill and Eric.
Yeah.
Or not Eric, but
Steve.
otherwise, it leaves them negotiating up in the air. See what you have to look forward to? This
he's
is the-
taking notes. I've
Yeah,
already
this is
seen
the,
her.
this is the same road.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
She's smiling and staying quiet. Do I have a motion to vote on this, or are we gonna table it?
I'm ready to vote.
Do we have a motion to do that?
Yeah.
In a second?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we send it back. So
That we vote.
That we vote on this,
Voting.
which would send it back,
I'll second the motion.
okay? And the voting members tonight are myself, Bill Myers, Eric Barr, Betsy Hodge, and John Casserly. And I'll pass, do you want me to use this
Yeah,
one?
please.
Okay. I don't even know the date.
9/5.
We turned 16 yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yay.
Make sure you get the right line.
Yeah, we have that challenge.
Are we sitting in order? Not quite.
You could pass it around and keep,
I'm tempted.
Yeah, come on. Come on, Eric.
I'm ready.
Cindy, don't you wanna?
You're right.
Got voted down 4-1.
Better sign that. Yeah. you sign that.
I signed it first.
Oh, you gotta sign it on the bottom of the data.
Yeah, there's.
Chair.
Chair.
Today's the 5th.
Yes, sir.
There you go, Mike.
Yeah.
Next item on our agenda is the seeker part 1 review for the solar project at 268 State Highway 310.
Is this for one or both sections?
At this point, it's for both. It's for both sides of the project.
You want me to read what?
Yeah,
Oh, but she's
Kayla.
online.
Kayla's up there if we have questions
Yep,
about it.
I'm here if you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Caleb.
This is for both, correct?
Yes, that's what we would advise to avoid segmentation for the seeker process.
East and west. I was 50-50.
We have you have her comments printed up or no? There's lots of them.
Yeah, but not on
Or
the
lots of
seeker,
them.
not on the seeker. There was yes, there was a lot of comment on the project.
Yeah. I'll read the resolution, declaring the intent of the town of Canton Planning Board to act as lead agency. This is resolution number 9 of 2023. Whereas the town of Canton Planning Board is reviewing a site plan application for the proposed Grassy Grove East and West Solar Farm project located at 268 State Highway 310 in the town of Canton, St. Lawrence County, New York. And whereas the project has been classified as a type 1 action as defined by the State Environmental Quality Review Act in 6 NYCRR Part 617.4. And whereas it is the intent of the town of Canton Planning Board to assume the role of lead agency for purposes of conducting a seeker assessment of the project. And whereas part 1 of a full environmental assessment form has been prepared by the applicant and reviewed by the town of Canton Planning Board and will be circulated to all involved and interested agencies for purposes of establishing the town of Canton Planning Board as lead agency in accordance with 6 NYCRR Part 617.6B. Now, therefore, be it resolved and determined that the town of Canton Planning Board will send said Part 1 of full environmental assessment form and associated site plan to the attached list of interested involved agencies under cover of a notice of intent to establish lead agency letter for purposes of establishing lead agency status under SEQR, and it is further resolved that the chair of the town planning board, town of Canton Planning Board, together with the town attorney and B&L, are hereby authorized to take all actions, serve all notices, and complete all documents required to give full force and effect to this determination. And I want to have Mike with the comments from B&L concerning the part 1. Do you have anything that you want to say before we?
Yes, so once again, I just have how, business development manager for maximum, that's the for his invest. Connection. Delegated instruction of connecting to what we do, and then also use to say, new solar projects, meeting, happy to refresh if the board is like. Tonight, I'm joined via Zoom by Eric and Andrew of our civil engineering partners, Colliers. So last month we introduced this project. We went through the process with the escrow agreement, and B&L then reviewed the project and sent us a comment letter, which we received this past Thursday, where we are at with that. If we intend to, as our next submission prior to next month's meeting, do a response to comment letter and incorporate their comments in that revised submission materials. As far as the EAF form, you can hear what everyone has to say today. Eric can confirm this for me, but I believe that you are planning. There's no comment with the EAF form that we were necessarily in contention with anything like that. So we were going to send over tomorrow morning confirmation of that to B&L, and but happy to go through, answer any questions, and do that. We received that comment letter this past Thursday. We plan on tomorrow morning sending over the EAF form with that with those revised comments, and then prior to next month's meeting, doing a resubmission with a response to comment letter and updated submission materials with B&L.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the speaker form and the response to B&L letter that I forwarded to you? There was a lot of changes on that they recommended
You went down some of the main things.
Horrible.
Okay, you can have it on thing.
Um,
I did look at it, but
there
it's
were,
all-
there's some details, in section B for government approval. Just that, some additional, agencies need to be
Mhm.
included. And a big one, a concern from my perspective was, I guess, it would be 15, their analysis.
Down.
What's that? Sound analysis. Yeah, but I had a concern about the glare analysis. That B&L recommends that a glare analysis be prepared given the proximity of this proposed solar facility in New York State Route 310 and a residence in close proximity to the west of the site. And while Taylor says that this can be submitted as a package, I'd like to see glare analysis and visual viewings for each project. Can you do that?
Eric, is that something we can do? The question is a glare analysis for each project and same with the visual impact.
Yep, yeah, we can do it for each project. We have a certified glare analyst that can do that.
I guess a question that ties in with that. Would you proceed with the project if you couldn't do both sides?
That'd be a question for Liza. I would say yes, though.
Yeah, so the reason why we're doing, so the East project and the West project, two separate projects. We have a higher confidence level in the East project in that it's fully approved by the utility. The West project is, still going through that process a little bit, but for two main reasons. One, we wanted to be fully transparent with the town that this is what our full plan is, scope of work. There's 2 community solar projects proposed here, no battery storage, nothing like that. And then the other reason is because for SEQR, we don't want any segmentation. So for the SEQR process, it would be reviewed together because that has the most conservative assumptions. So as far as approving the projects, it could be done separately. We could proceed with one project and not the other, but for the purposes of SEQR, we need them reviewed together so that we don't have any segmentation or any issue with the SEQR process.
Okay. Just, I see that we're gonna be voting on them separately when you get to the end.
For the approval of,
Right.
for the site
And
plan approval and special use.
So
permit.
that's why I think we need to have
Mhm,
separate, at least glare
mhm.
and visual impact.
Here's all the comments. Just scroll down.
You're probably getting on my phone too now.
Let's see if what else there was that was.
It was in, Ian sent it to us.
Yeah, I
Or
looked at
Mike.
it then and just looked at the one like,
These comments.
Yes.
Yeah, I sent it as
Yeah.
soon as I got it, I sent it.
yeah, I can get it up on my phone. Good idea.
So your plan relative to the secret part 1 is to answer all of B&L's questions?
Yes, to revise the EAF part 1 with their comments that they've proposed. We'll
Okay.
incorporate that and send that over tomorrow.
Okay,
So it can be sent out, but lead agency needs to be declared at the meeting and then the EAF is sent out afterwards. So we confirmed with B&L that we'd be able to address those comments right after this meeting and get it sent out, so long as the board declares lead agency
Okay,
during the meeting time.
is that all agreeable from your perspective, Kayla?
Yeah, so that's what we've done something very similar with most of the other projects. Just for the essence of time, as long as the board agrees with our comments and we get the revised EAF and we confirm that everything has been addressed, we can then send out letters on behalf of the town to start that 30-day time period for the coordinated review. Which hopefully, the next meeting would be set up to follow that 30-day review period, and we could perform parts 2 and 3 at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I don't usually say anything. I'm just thinking in terms of the calendar, unless it goes out tomorrow.
Yeah, this
That
is
would be
something
the
we're
key.
aware of, that
Okay.
the 30-day clock wouldn't,
Wouldn't work
wouldn't
for
fully lapse
October.
by the October meeting, but if we declare lead agency, we're at least getting that ball rolling, so we can continue in conjunction the review on the project as a whole.
Just want to make sure I understood for the minute.
Yeah, other than separate glare and visual, I had no other questions beyond what B&L had asked for. There he is. Does anybody else have further questions?
But we're not gonna go through this.
We don't have to at this point. It's all gonna be changed. Because they have a lot of homework.
Right. Then we're gonna go through.
Then we're gonna go through it.
If we decide to do everything.
Yeah. Yes, I read the proposed action declaring us to be the lead agency. If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion to accept that.
Don't move.
And all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Once again, we'll pass it around.
Leave that down.
Gotta have something for entertainment. But if it's a question, then how many years of education? Yeah.
But we're saying the clock starts ticking tomorrow? Do that again? Can we go through that again?
This might be a question for Sheila as far as how they anticipate sending out the, speaker notices to all involved and, interested agencies. But the process is that at a board meeting, the planning board in this case declares lead agency. And then following that, mailers are sent out to other involved and interested agencies. And they have a 30-day period, to respond once that 30-day period,
And then,
elapses, then the lead agency can move on seeker. Just for clarity, I'm just talking about seeker in this case. I'm not talking about the full, site plan review and special permit review, just seeker.
Right, so the 30-day period will start once B&L sends the letters out on behalf of the town.
So I'm looking at, it's hypothetically. I'm looking at the week of October 16th.
that it would all be, that the time would have expired.
I mean, that, by the time they get the paperwork to B&L gets, you're talking the 7th or 8th by the time they get mailed out, so.
We could, talk about that when we talk later when we're discussing future meeting scheduling. Whether we want to put in an extra meeting in addition to our regular ones. To move that up to that week. Any further discussion on this project? Well, the next item is new business, and the first of them is future meeting scheduling. Our regular next meeting would be the first Monday in October. Which is, I don't know.
October 2nd.
So can we schedule in order to have, we have just one meeting? Are we interested in just one meeting?
In October.
When this
30
30 days is done?
Depends on how much other stuff we're gonna have.
Okay.
If,
We're gonna have the county's review of the site plan for the
Cool.
restaurant.
So we should have 2 meetings.
Wait, why are we entertaining more meetings?
because we can't fit. The 30 days, when it expires, is gonna be past our October meeting. For,
Gotcha.
We could hold their public hearing
at the,
at this.
Monday the 2nd?
The second, could have the public hearing on the second. Get that done and then.
that would, split up the time commitments.
For the secret part 2 and 3, of course, you know, it's gonna.
Yeah, especially for the double project, it's gonna take a little
Right.
while.
But you can schedule the public hearing for the second.
And are people open to having a second meeting, like on the 16th?
Mhm.
I'm good with it.
Otherwise, it's gonna run us into the holidays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Eliza, is that kind of scheduling good for you?
Yes. Whenever that works for the town, I will be here.
Okay,
with the bell
Okay.
on.
So if we were to stick to the once a month schedule, like we have in the past,
we wouldn't be able to do the seeker for this project until November.
gotcha. So essentially developer asking us to meet more often to progress this project
Yeah, and us looking to progress the project.
and the board as a whole looking to do that.
Yeah, I mean, look at what we did last year. You weren't here.
I was gonna say, I'd like to not have a 4-hour meeting.
Yeah,
So you'd like to meet more frequently, less time.
No, I hear what
I'm
you're saying,
obligations.
yeah.
we had weeks fall where we met 3 times in a week.
Right. So would the board rather meet more often in a month than having a longer once a month meeting?
Well, it's a case of whether you could fit it all in at a single meeting anyways.
I hear what Cody, what I
mean,
hear
just
you're saying is push it
I mean,
to
just to shoot the-
November, like.
Just
Yeah.
shoot the
Not our
bubble.
problem.
Yeah.
I got another 10 megawatt site going on County Route 14, so.
Absolutely. You know, it's pretty common for other planning boards, towns, countywide. They meet once a week and applicants have to work around
Once
that schedule.
a month.
Sorry, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Once a month. Whew. And applicants have to work around that schedule, so we don't have to shuffle our schedules. Our meetings for the year are planned out, which is great. I mean, we all have obviously lives outside of this that depend on that. Or are dictated on that. I think you all know my feeling on that. I've spoken on it before. However, if you all feel like you want to meet again in October, that's a decision that the board has to make.
Well, what exactly do we have to do on the second? We have a public hearing.
A public hearing for the second 310 project. And we will have the report back from the county on the restaurant project.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we'd have 2 things to deal with, that we know of today. And, then,
You would have secret part 1 for.
and then we'd have seeker part 1 for 310 2 weeks later. Cause otherwise it's November.
On the 16th.
Yeah.
Secret phone.
But what I'm hearing from Cody and I'm kind of agreeing with is, why not wait until November?
We could do, I mean, in November, we could do secret part 2 and 3 and the approval of east, west. Whatever project. I'm fine with that. You know, I could be in New York, I don't know.
So you're saying we could do it all on the first week of November?
Or see, we could do, if we do the public hearing on the 2nd. Do the public hearing for this project on the 2nd. That would give time to get the secret paperwork, then. At the November meeting, we could do secret part 2, secret part 3, and possible approval of this project at the November meeting.
Okay,
Cause we'll already have the public hearing done.
and if we have to, if we get more thrown on our table, we could change our plan at the October meeting.
Yeah.
Secret part 1 would be done.
See, the restaurant doesn't need
So-
a public hearing, it's just site
Secret
plan.
part 1, he's talking about 2 and 3
When would secret part 1 be dealt with?
after the public hearing. So
After the public hearing.
on the 2nd, that's what I heard too.
Oh,
That sounds good.
We've
But
done
the-
that
we-
before, we've had.
but
public
we
hearings
won't have had the 30 days.
Right.
On October 2nd.
No,
To hear from the lead agencies, yeah, or from the agency.
I'm saying in November, we do part 2 and 3.
When would we do part 1?
Not available on the night.
to do part 1 though,
I don't know how, I don't know why you don't do part 1 right now, get it over and done with.
because there's a whole lot of changes that are. We just approved us as lead agency.
Right, but the changes to the seeker were only on, the changes to the plan for the long list. The changes to just the seeker were possibly 10 items. You look at it, the changes to the plans themselves, yeah, there was 45 items.
Oh, yeah, 46.
If you look at the seeker.
Those
Right
are
there.
all
Right here.
comments.
There's 13 comments to just the seeker part 1. The rest of the project, there's 46,
Yeah,
but just to the seeker, there's 13.
Feels expensive to me.
yeah. Well, I can read the 13 fairly quickly here.
And those are the ones next Amber's gonna answer to get the stuff mailed out.
Okay. Section B, it is anticipated that the pilot would be approved by the St. Lawrence County through the IDA, while a community host benefit agreement would be negotiated directly with the town. Section B, H should be checked yes. The site plans indicate that there are wetlands present on and adjacent to the project site. Therefore, a jurisdictional determination from the Army Corps of Engineers will be required. Please update this section as needed and provide anticipated or actual dates of approvals. Question B1, 2. The answer to this question should be yes. Canton has the Grass River Waterfront Revitalization Plan. Question C, point 2.C. The answer to this question should be yes. The St. Lawrence County Agricultural Development Plan should be identified. Number 4. Question D, point 1, point B, point C. Please revise to reflect the total lease area. Per town code, submit a copy of the lease agreement to the town for review. Number 5, question D.1.G. Please provide responses to parts 1 and 2. Specifically, the total number of solar panels proposed and the dimensions of the largest array. Number 6, item in D.2.B, wetland impacts. The site plans show impacts to wetlands, encroachment of proposed landscaping. Please update the answer accordingly. Number 7, question D.2.E.2 through D.2.E.4. Please provide responses. Question D.2.1.2. Are the solar panels anticipated to operate continuously 24/7 once the project is complete? Please revise the hours of operation. Number 9, question D.2.R. Will solid waste be generated during construction? Please confirm and revise the responses accordingly. Number 10, question E.1.A.2. Please provide a general description of the mix of uses on, adjoining, and near the project site. Number 11, question E.2.H. Please provide a wetland delineation report and a jurisdictional review by the Army Corps of Engineers to confirm boundaries and federal jurisdiction. Number 12, question E.2.0. Please provide correspondence from the New York State DEC, U.S. Forest and Wildlife Service, and New York NHP, confirming that there will be no impacts to threatened and or endangered species. And number 13, question E.3.F. Please provide no effect letter or other available correspondence from SHPO. There's your homework.
Got it.
Got it. Okay.
Including visual impact assessment and noise analysis, 14 and 15.
And glare.
But that
But that's the
Okay.
whole site, that's not for the secret.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll be doing a full response letter as part of our next submission. The visual impact is something we actually submitted previously that wasn't provided to B&L right away, so that's already in review. Yeah, perfect. So there's a few of these items that we already have, we just didn't formally submit, so we'll be doing so.
Okay. So we're going to attempt to do the public comment on October 2nd. And for now, we're gonna scratch any October 16th meeting. And hope to do seeker part 2 and 3 on November. What was our date for the first Monday?
6th.
6th. Okay.
So was it secret part 1 after the public hearing then?
No, we just addressed the issues.
Right.
We'll have
Go
this,
through
we'll
line
have
by
this
line.
updated, same thing, updated.
Yeah, they're,
Yep.
Kayla's getting the updated version as soon as they get to it.
Yeah, and we should be able to submit by tomorrow.
That's
And we'll copy everybody on our submission.
Do we have any other new business?
Just like I mentioned, I got an email from an engineer. They're doing a phase 1 study on a property on County Route 14 towards Morley for the same type of project, 2 5-megawatt site.
Solid.
Where's that?
County Route 14.
Is that the Morley Road?
No,
No,
it
it goes
cuts
out
across
to-
from Woodbridge Corners.
Oh,
and
okay.
Goes through Morley to Bucksbridge.
No, it's from 68
Right.
Right.
to Morley. Oh, yeah, it's probably that's what it's called.
And then it hits Bucksbridge and.
But it's on,
I live
on that
outside
section
of
between
Morley.
Morley and
Just
68.
not there.
Yeah, Woodbridge Corners.
I don't know.
Plus, I just heard it was Hart's Corners like 5 years ago, so.
Does that use the same substation?
That one, that substation, according to them, is the McAdoo Road,
So it's different.
which is on County Route 16.
You know what parcels, what parcel that would be going on? Can you tell us?
McLean,
There, Woodbridge Corners.
On the corner, or there's more than one McLean out
the
there?
log home. Top of the hill,
Okay,
the parcel with the house and then the parcel after it. It's just in the, like I said, I just got the page one study.
Any indication on interconnection?
McAdoo.
It's instead of going
Oh,
out
right,
to
but have
Falls,
they
it turned
submitted
the
all
other way
that
out
stuff to get it rolling?
58,
Cool.
Going towards Morley. it's right
I know.
there.
I know why they're doing, I mean, I'm not
Sure.
stepping on their feet.
Sure.
I'm not stepping on this developer's feet. The reason that they're doing the 10 megawatt systems is for the interconnection.
is this your project too, or no?
No.
Do we know the developer?
Or is it a new and different one?
The different one
Okay,
from Albany.
okay.
Oh, whatever happened to our thoughts a couple of years ago about
Saturation point?
having a saturation
Right.
point?
Yeah.
What happened to that?
I'm wondering that myself.
We've
Go
got
outside and
it
rent
down
some
right
fall.
there.
And they're
Going
having
up
to
there.
resubmit.
In the town of
the
Oswegatchie on the
information
Kelly
being out
farm.
tomorrow.
Right.
Well, I was just talking about the town of Canton, and what was our saturation point? Do you remember?
Like 10 or 12,
10 or 12 projects?
yeah.
Didn't we have an acreage, solar acreage part of it?
We recommended it.
Parts
but-
That was recommended
But recommended is not.
So there's no teeth.
There's no teeth.
Ah, yes,
No.
And the new zoning code.
right.
We haven't.
Outside of how, the use is prohibited or permitted, the village boundary be a little more protected in the new regs.
And did Bill kind of sort of assure us that we would be seeing hardly any more projects because of saturation point? There was
I
no more
recall that
capacity?
conversation.
No more
And
capacity.
there's also
that-
substation capacity.
That was after 7
As well.
projects.
Oh, seven
So what
was
happened to the
number, yeah.
capacity?
Different
Different
transfers, or
substations.
different substations.
So that saturation argument is essentially blown out, or does not apply anymore.
Apparently.
The developers can cost share. There's all sorts of incentives for them to get together and make the upgrades to infrastructure to eventually tie in. And obviously that's happening, right?
That was not supposed to, like, it was supposed to be cost prohibitive, which led to the saturation point.
An interesting like comfort we had at one point, these projects are coming, okay, they're eventually gonna get their stop because we can't meet
Right.
that,
Because they're not gonna pay the money
Might as well,
to
Right.
enhance the
Upgrade the
system
system.
enough to
Sure.
carry the load.
right?
Yeah.
So outside of that, in the new regs, it pushes them to the outskirts a bit more of the town, but we don't have any other teeth for regulating the use in terms of it getting out of hand, so to speak. No, right?
None that I'm aware of.
Mike, is that Jan McLean's place?
Yes.
So the planning board, being one of the names of the board is planning, we're not gonna look down the future and try to come up with something ourselves that might have some teeth in it?
We have,
But I think the new
how do we do
zoning
that?
regs were our,
We have no teeth.
Well, outside of pushing the
That's the
use
point.
away from the village border a bit more, which is, I think is a good thing. But outside of that, in the rural parts of the town, it could just be full, well, obviously that's the extreme, but obviously the use we could see more and more of it. Depending on, the electrical infrastructure obviously has to be there too, right?
Well, that was what we were hoping.
right,
Would do
It's
an
gonna limit it.
automatic limit or help us with teeth.
That's a toughie to rely on that, huh? Hindsight, always 2020, huh?
Or there's not an alternative.
And
We
if
don't
Well,
have
but
teeth per se.
but there is, that could be in the solar regs in terms of the amount of
If-
land that could be consumed for this
If
particular
the town
use.
board
Made that
chooses to
recommendation.
put it in
Right.
there.
We
There we go,
don't,
exactly.
we
That's what
don't
we
get
keep
to
saying.
decide.
Agreed,
We
agreed,
recommend it.
agreed.
Are we gonna recommend anything? That's- I
We
guess-
already did.
Okay, but can
recommended
we
it
come
all.
back with another recommendation, update of our recommendation, given that our assumption
No, we
before,
wanted to-
Turned it
assumption
12.
before was that there was gonna be no more capacity.
Yeah.
Right,
And-
yeah, but
But,
that's,
and we made a recommendation. But the town board is the one that decides.
Right.
All we could do is recommend.
and what exactly did we recommend, you remember? 200 acres. 200 acres
Total.
of solar arrays,
Yeah. We're already gonna be past that.
and they threw that out the window.
They just
Well,
haven't,
hasn't
they haven't
passed it
approved
yet.
it. Oh. The new zoning laws are,
Can we
Still in
stall on the
limbo.
idea that we need to wait and see what the new zoning laws are? Or
we
is
don't
that
know
not-
when, we don't know when or if.
So it's,
Or
yeah,
what?
it's a
Or
tough
what?
spot,
We know if, don't we? Aren't they gonna pass them eventually?
hopefully. I know, on the one hand,
I-
should they have, instituted a moratorium on the use until the new regs are adopted? I know that, that might have prevented Grassy Grove, for sure. In terms of when you look how the new maps are drawn, I mean, that would have pushed them possibly to another location. But I don't know if the town board's willing to entertain that.
Town board has tabled this basically, the
I don't
200
know.
acre suggestion?
I don't know.
Well, is it in the new regs that they haven't adopted?
No,
It's not in there, okay.
Right.
Thought it was in there.
I don't know if it's in there. I'm pretty sure it's not,
Well,
any sort of, threshold for,
no,
right,
We made the recommendation and they
Totally.
apparently said, decided not to act upon it. You got any other bombs to drop on us?
we haven't started with biodigester, so,
yes, that's gonna be. good.
We'll save that for future entertainment.
yeah, that's way beyond solar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
Any other items to discuss?
Do you
Otherwise,
have to do this? Do you have to make a motion on this? Or-
Before you make a motion, I apologize for being late. I'm with the St. Lawrence NYS2 project. I had a family emergency. I understand that you disapproved the resolution that had been put before the planning board. And I'm just curious to understand what that means for us now. Does that mean you want us to go back to the original State Street entrance? Or does this then get bounced up to the town board, since it was the town board that told us to change the location in the first place?
I wish Bill was here.
yeah. I want them to go back to the State Street.
Yeah, personally.
The
So
the majority here want to go back to the State Street entrance.
I think we're perfectly happy with that. But the town board, and specifically, not that Stephen is on the town board, but Stephen Smith was advising the town board that it shouldn't be accessed via State Street. So if you're okay with us relying on our original approval, which had a State Street entrance, we are perfectly happy with that. I just want to be 100% sure what we're expected to do now. We redesigned the entire system to accommodate a 310 entrance, and now we have to redesign it back to the original State Street entrance.
Well, don't you
Yeah.
guys still have the original design?
Well, now we have to go back to the Army Corps, because we got the Army Corps' approval on the new design, which apparently you denied tonight.
It's not just the entrance, there's a lot
Yeah.
of detail to it.
Right.
So help me understand what it is that we should be doing differently for the entrance, so that you, the town board, and Stephen Smith are all okay with how we access the site. There's an existing entrance on State Street, so I still think that's the best choice. But like,
And
I
so-
now have to
so-
get a new layout in front of the Army Corps. I got to get a new layout in front of DEC. I got to get a new layout in front of DOT as well. All this was prefaced on this board approving the access, because we understood, since the town board was saying that we needed to change it, that the planning board, this was just a kind of red tape sort of process. We didn't expect that we were going to have to go back to the drawing board again. So I just need some help. I need some help so that we know what to do, so we don't keep spinning our wheels on this.
I'm sorry, Tony, I'm coming in late to the meeting. It was already discussed before I got here in terms of
Yes.
site plan, okay,
And there was a vote. And
gotcha,
there was a vote.
understood.
And we turned down the new entrance 4-1.
Gotcha.
And we wish that Bill Buchanan had been here to give us
Provide
guidance.
some
Tell us what
direction
happens
as
next.
to where we go from here.
Gotcha.
We may not be able to answer
But
that
we
for
didn't.
Tony tonight.
Thank you.
The best I can say is, should we have Bill Buchanan talk with him or?
I've sent Bill an email. My question is, does this get kicked up to the town board now? Or is the expectation that we're sticking with our original approval and the town board is going to be told by the planning board that it has been reviewed and approved as originally contemplated?
That's our stand.
Okay, and who is going to talk to Stephen Smith? Because he has been the obstruction in all of this from the very beginning. I agree. Just for the record, I 100% agree that it is safer to access the site from State Street than it is from 310. 100%. I also agree that putting our point of interconnect closer to the nursing home is more aesthetically pleasing. All those things I agree with. The only reason that we presented what you looked at tonight was because we were directed to do so by the town board, Stephen Smith, and Bill Buchanan.
Well, that's who you should be talking with.
Well, if it gets kicked back to you, I need to be sure that there's support from the planning board for what we want to do. If we all agree that State Street is the right approach, then the people on the planning board need to support that and explain it to the town board.
No.
But Bill Buchanan isn't the one who makes this decision.
We had some very strong comment on the dangers of, Route 310, exits and entrances into the site.
And honestly, I agree with you. It's not your jurisdiction. That's a state road. So that would be up to DOT to figure out how we make that safe. We might end up putting in a turning lane. I don't know what the state is going to ask for, but I think it's much easier to use what we already have on State Street. So no disagreement from me on that front at all. But if that is the reason you disapprove this resolution, that needs to be communicated to Stephen Smith.
That'll be done.
What was that?
That'll be done.
That will, Mike, just said that will be done.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
You're welcome, Tony.
Thanks for hearing me out. Again, I apologize for not being able to join the meeting earlier.
Any other comments, Tony?
No, sir. No, thanks for letting me speak.
None that are printable?
No.
Okay. We will do the best we can on our end. Are we up to our second and final public comment time?
I believe so.
Yep.
We're open for public comment. If nobody has anything to say, do I hear a move to adjourn?
So move.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
It's only 7:30.
We can stay longer if you want.
You can stay on.
Yeah.
Was it Eric?
Eric did.
Thank you. I thought so, and then I forgot. All right, cool.
So we went, second and the sixth, right?
So who-
Like,
who has
Right.
first?
Is it worth me talking to Steve?
Well, I was gonna suggest if you would be both. Utility report as well.